The mountains around here, if you could use the word, are more loving, I suppose. The feeling you get here is that we're part of it. It sinks into your heart, and for some reason I always somehow come back to around Mount Karura, which is the focal point of all the mountains, and that's of course where they have the Pomona King of the Mountain. And I suppose if you talk to a lot of the runners, they have the same passion. They want to conquer it because they believe by conquering it they've mastered the mountain, but I don't believe you can master the mountain.
Well, one day, played up a little bit. I didn't feel too good the next day. So I thought I was a bit crooked on myself and thought I need teaching a lesson. And to fix myself up, I thought I need a bit of punishment, so I'll go up for a run to the mountain that I never have done before. So when I done that and come back to the hotel, I knew they'd be open by then. I couldn't believe I'd done it under the hour. And when I told everybody, hardly anyone had believed me, and that's how it really started from there. Everyone was talking about it in town, about it, you know, and they wanted to bet that I couldn't do it under the hour. Some bets were put on, and about £100 worth of bets, and I ran up and done it in 40 minutes, I think it was. Well, after that, it was big headlines all around. It got known all over the place, and we started to see strange shapes forming in the town. Athletes coming up here, checking the mountain out, mountain climbers, runners.
Frank Manwaring said, hey, they got this thing up at Pomona, which if you want interested, so nothing else to do much around Glasgow, so we said, yeah, right, we'll have a crack at it.
And we ran from the railway yards just below the pub. That's where we ran from, and that's where we finished.
We all got there, registered, I guess we did, and just milled around till they decided it was time for somebody to go. And seeing I was the youngest, you go first.
They organised someone to be up on top of the mountain, someone out the bottom to keep an eye on things. One year it was the ambulance, and some of the town people organised it, and they had an ambulance day as well.
I think Mum took us, because I was only about 15, I think. You were silly enough to go, you went with the big boys.
There was obviously a timekeeper, and he took your time on your lob back, and yeah.
I think I did it in about, I think it was 28 or 32, I'm not sure, one or the other. After it was all over, and Bruce hadn't won it, there was a bit of a hush around the place because the local hero didn't quite make it. The policeman, he decided that there should be a collection made up for Bruce. And somebody said, well, what are you going to put it in? And he just took his hat off and he's walking around getting donations in his copper hat, the policeman's hat.
He passed the hat around and I got £11.
He came up and asked my mother for a donation and she gave him a mouthful. She said, bloody, my son bloody beat him and you want him to get the money. He said, that's how things were in them days, you know.
After that I got busy, got a job at the sawmill and took off.
I found out that I was going to get shifted from here, and I thought it might be better that I did because I had to behave myself that well, through being king of the mountain and all that. I thought it might be better I got out of town and I could live a normal life again.
I don't think I did it again. I think they might have run it a couple more times, I'm not sure. And then it just died. We were looking for an event to put on to sort of promote Pomona a bit, and at that stage I was chairman of the local ambulance board, and we were having a clean out on the back shed one day, and I found a box, and in the box was the Gold Crest Cup.
So we decided we'd run this mountain race and we'd call it the Pomona King of the Mountain. We thought, well, sounds like a good idea, let's give it a crack. And we had no idea what it was going to turn into.
We started to research it. I went around Pomona and found out where the pubs were and when they were burnt down, and then the other one was when Bruce Samuels ran up the mountain and did in that time.
Now, you've actually been running this race for the last 4 years or so?
That's right, yes. We started this race back in 1979.
I've been mixed up with the Pomona Tennis Club all my life, and we were invited along if we wanted to put a stall or something there. It got to the end of the meeting and they said, and so what are you blokes going to do? And we said, we've got no idea. What do you want us to do? And Barry said, we've got a Dagwood dog cooker that belongs to the Lions Club. He said, you should use that. And for the next 40 years, that's what we did.
We'd never, I never anyway, expected what happened there. It was just unbelievable.
And of course, it's expanded from just that, a few stalls to a whole event. But without the race, there's nothing there.
I always loved running. Used to run around the farm all the time too, My father would ask me to turn the pump off. I'd run down and turn the pump off, and run back. I used to like running in races at primary school, even though at primary school I just couldn't, I wasn't a very fast sprinter. It wasn't until I went to high school that the races increased in distance and I found I could just keep running.
We got permission to close the centre of town off and we parked a semi-trailer across the corner.
And very early on, Herb Elliott came up, and he was the #1 Olympian in those days. And he got up in the back of the truck and said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I was just going to call the race." He said, "How can you see it?" I said, "Oh, I've got the SES on the phone here." And they tell me what was happening. And here they are, they're going up the hill now. Now, if you look, and in those days we used to fire a flare at halfway. And there's the flare, the first runner, and it's so-and-so. He's just made the halfway mark. And I'm saying, "What do you think, Herb?" And Herb's giving his, it must be pretty tough up there, But, no, he went up the mountain and he said, "I wouldn't do that."
Where does the race actually begin?
It begins right here in the centre of Pomona. And it's about a 2-kilometre run to the foot of the mountain. And then there's a 400-metre climb to the top and then back again.
But what do you feel inside you when you're actually going up that mountain?
Oh, well, on the mountain itself, you feel your legs getting tired.
About that time, I had this bloke, "Ray, why don't you do this? Ray, why don't you do..." This bloke was called Stan Topper. In the end, I said, "Stan, come and help us."
He had lots of ideas, loved what he did, loved to be motivated, doing things. And if there was a problem, he'd, look into it and solve it. He wasn't easily defeated. Yeah, and he was able to connect with people.
Stan, we've just heard George Futrell out in front at the moment.
Yes, it's taken him just over 15 minutes.
And then you come back down. That's where I like it the best, coming down.
No one got near him, and he was just so good on the mountain. And he was just so fast on the downhill. He was just really, really quick on the downhill.
I thought it was quite a good festival, like there was streets lined with people cheering as you come down. It was really surprising.
What happened that day is that the crowd just adopted the race. And they lined the streets and they clapped every runner from first to last.
Yes, the winner of the King of the Mountain. What's the time? 24, 45, 20, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50. Oh, it's fantastic.
We set up some food stalls. We run a lot of novelty events like nail driving, can crushing, silly little events, egg and spoon races where the crowd got, people got involved.
Had no idea how big it was going to get. It was something that the town welcomed because, as the years went on, it built up into a big occasion, a big day for the town.
And then we had bike runs, durathlons, a wood chopping championship, and we had one of the best wood chopping arenas in Australia.
It was always a success. There was the tug of wars and all the other things and thong throwing.
there's been a photo in the paper where one's been right up in the trees.
Over the years we've had Australian trials, motorcycle champions, BMX riders, crowds got bigger, schools relay program, over 400 kids, skateboard championships. We've got the collectible fair over in the hall. In the bowls club they run a King of the Mountain Bowls Championship. Keep people amused and keep people entertained. But the main focus of the whole day is that race stuff.
You'd be considered the favourite again this year?
Oh yeah, I suppose so.
George, he's just 6 years straight. And we thought nobody ever beat this bloke. And out of the blue, it was a bloke by the name of Graham Barrell that turned up from Brisbane.
Running and running at speed feels good to me, and it was just exhilarating. You know, I was just that ability to just sort of just go and go. And I used to race nearly every weekend when I was a junior, and I just found the tougher races actually, and I would race them. In '85, we went up to Pomona, and it was amazing. It was the biggest crowd I've ever run in front of. My brother said, look, no one can beat George Futrell. George will get you on the way down. It doesn't matter how far in front, George will get you. So I'm getting down towards about 300 to 400 metres to go, and just as you're coming up the last hill onto the bitumen, all of a sudden the crowd goes, "Whoa!" They roared, and I thought, wow, George must be right behind me. So I just took off. I just took off like mad because, you know, and I think the crowd must have been a little bit stunned that someone was in front of George at that point. And my ability was to be able to efficiently just put one foot in front of the other. So I was very well suited to that mountain, and therefore I could actually go and do that, get up there pretty quickly and back down again.
I grew up in Johnsonville, which is a suburb of Wellington. We're a fairly bumpy sort of country, so even as a kid, I always was up and down the hills. I think a challenge is that you see a mountain and you like to see how fast you can get to the top.
So give him a big hand, he's come all the way from New Zealand.
They had an invitation to go over there to run the race, and when I got there I didn't know what it was going to be like, and I was so surprised the amount of people in town that came in for the race.
I knew that Barry hadn't been beaten for 10 years.
Graham was there, of course, and him and I had a lot of battles together.
Over the next 10 years, they just went head-to-head, non-stop. 10 years, they just belted each other on that mountain every year.
We always went in very fast and hard at the start of the race, and he certainly would always try to get ahead of me going up.
We were running almost dead level up the mountain and coming down. We were sort of taking turns at leading coming down the mountain, but Barry finished up winning.
This is the first year I went to Pomona and see the trophy, and it was a bit of a bugger to get home in our suitcase, but anyway.
So I said, okay, if I'm going to win this, I'm going to probably have to break my record to beat him. I was right, and I was just powered up the mountain.
They'd take some awful tumbles. A couple of times, if one was just behind the other, they'd take a leap over a rock or around a rock just to get that little bit of advantage, because that's all it took. They were so competitive and so close.
One year we were battling it up the hill, and I managed to get ahead of him just before the top, and he passed me on the way down.
It was helter-skelter. We were coming down this mountain, and Barry decided to go right around this tree. I said, I'm going left.
I tripped on one of your little black trees, your bushes.
Down he goes.
Did a complete somersault over the top of Graham and landed in front of him.
But before I got a metre in front of him, he was up on his feet. Away we went again.
This is another trophy that I won in Australia at Pomona race, and another one that was difficult to get back home.
Graham won 3 in a row.
Barry's been my closest competitor. He was always tough mentally, very tough mentally and strength-wise, so he was always a tough competitor, no matter what he did.
I've had a lot of fun over there at different times, and I think Graham's been one of my toughest competitors, yes.
Graham Barrelett sent an email around about the King of the Mountain in Pomona was on. I called him, I said, Graham, I really want to do this, can I get a lift? And he said, well, I'll give Barry Stewart a call, but I'm not sure if there's any spots left. And there were none left. And I said, I'll come anyway, just in case anyone drops out. And the whole festival was just so nice. I was like this kid almost who, I really want to race, I really want to race. And someone didn't run. So my first entry was under the name Anna. And Kim Beckinsale won that race. And I remember that at the race briefing I saw her and I thought, wow, that woman is fit. She looks great, I bet that she will win, and she did.
I've always just loved running in the bush, so much more than being on a road. I think the harder it was, the more I enjoyed it. We had come into Pomona before and seen the mountain, and from the minute I saw the track, I'm like, I want to run up that mountain. And, you know, everything as a young child I was told, oh, you know, you have to be whatever age to go up that, and it's really scary and it's really treacherous.
The next year I raced it again and then I won. And then I thought, I better see what is up there, because when you race your peripheral vision goes very narrow and you just see where you put your feet. So I raced it twice and then I walked it and I thought, oh, this is scary.
I was in my last year at Teachers College and I just went, right, I'm gonna do it. And it was the hardest thing I'd ever done in my entire life at that time.
Number 26, Kim Beckinsale.
The way that you all get called up before you start and run up the street a bit, that was so nerve-wracking. And the minute you hit the mountain part, I just died. And then the downhill part, I just loved. I think the crowd were amazing because everyone's just knew your name and they're yelling out, and I wasn't actually too far off, you know, where the lead women at the time. And I thought, I can definitely do a lot better. Megan Burton from New Zealand and Lynn Gordon were the previous winners that had been battling for first and second. And I know I wasn't stronger going up the mountain, and so I just focused on not letting them get out of my sight. And then I got to the top and turned around, and I must have fallen back on a tree root, but I'll just keep going. When I passed them, I was like, oh, okay, I'm in front. And I thought I was in front, but you don't know until you get to the finish line, because there could have been someone else. And so I was coming into town and all the people start cheering you, and so I just ran and ran and ran, and the crowd just lifted, and yeah, I was pretty excited to come down the finish line, and I was in front for the first time. Someone came up to me and took me, and because I'd cut my leg open, and I had blood all down my leg. And
you may have noticed that Kim Beckinsale may have taken a fall at some stage. And I guess their occupation as a physician in Brisbane would have put her in good stead there. Number 17 is Gregory, not from Gympie. Good on you, Gregory.
So I ended up getting taken over to the doctor's surgery across the road and got some stitches in my leg and came back out.
I got into running just because my dad was always a runner. It was mostly just out on the dirt roads. So to start with, I used to just ride the bike because I was too young and I couldn't keep up. But then, yeah, after a while, I managed to build up a bit of speed and then would run along as well. There's something about running, once you start doing it and feeling like a sense of achievement, it can become quite addictive. And if one lap's not enough, you do a couple more. Dad ran in it in the 80s 2 times, so I came along to watch him run in the mountain race. I used to like to watch on the hill, Heckler's Hill as it's known, just as they come out of the forest. In 2015 there was 2 participants that injured themselves on the mountain. We flew in and winched them off the mountain, and yeah, that kind of got the blood bubbling a little bit, and I thought maybe it's calling me back to have a crack at it finally. So the next year I entered. Registrations for the race opened 2 days ago. We've got about 8 registrations so far. Another thing is looking at getting a podium for presentations.
So your first place, your second place, your third place?
Yep.
Oh, cool.
If anyone doesn't have any objections to that, I'll action that one.
It just started off being a casual little walk, and then I started doing it more and more often, and then, you know, you get to know people on the track, and then, yeah, one day someone said, how about you do King of the Mountain? And I said, don't be stupid, so you've got to be mad to do that.
Introduced, Foxtrot, over. The first male runner has just passed me.
The morning before the race of 2019, I was feeling very good. I was doing the old bird wings for the warm-up and everything, and yeah, everything was coming into place. And I was behind Ryan Crawford about halfway up Mount Pomona. And I thought he was going to keep going, but then he just looked at me. And I knew he was defeated then when I saw his eyes. Like, he was like, go past. He was done. And I just felt fresh as a daisy, eh? So I just kept pushing it. Then I got to the top of the hill, and that's when the struggle started. I had no practice for that level of downhill speed. But I didn't even look back. I thought he was right behind me the whole time, so I was running like for my life. And then to cross that line first, it was a big shock to me. Whoa. I actually won the King of the Mountain race.
Just a few medals, they're all from Pomona. They got it every year on the back, what year it was, 2005, 95.
I've raced Pomona 25 times and I've only been up there 27 times. So I've never trained on it. I went up there to renew my 25th wedding anniversary, and I went up there with the TV crew once. Otherwise, 25 races, only 2 times up there. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. It's a love-hate relationship. I really love the competition, I love all the people, but I bloody hate the mountain. The time the TV crew put me up, I whinged all the way up. And they were in fits of laughter. You do this, why are you whinging? Oh, I said, are you enjoying yourselves? It's not enjoyable, it's hard. It's hard and it's painful. Everything I've done about Pomona is about me spouting off. I mean, oh, this is great, I'm going to do this for at least 10 years. About 2 or 3 years after that, my grandson was born. What did I do after the race? He was 6 weeks old at his first King of the Mountain. And I went, oh, I'm going to keep running this until he's old enough to run with me. So I had to run it he was 13 or 14 before he could do it. So I'm up to about 17, 18 runs. Well, I'm so close to 25 years now, I've got to do 25 years.
I remember I did a fun run when I was probably 12. Well, it was supposed to be a walkathon, and I ran it, and they disqualified me because I ran the thing and won it. Bought a block of land up here in, I think it was 93, and saw the mountain, and used to live in a tent there while we built the house, and walked up it a couple of times and watched the race in 95, and I thought, oh, I'm going to try that next year, and it's still going.
Yeah, well, I didn't think he was even a runner the first couple of years, you know, and then after about 5 or 6 years, I thought, oh, he's sticking in. You know, after about 10 or 12 years, I thought, oh, he's serious. And then he started talking to me about saying, you know, I'm going to get you a record, you know, I'll keep going. And he had a good chance because he's a lot younger. And that's another reason I think that really made me get to 25. I thought, I'll make it difficult for Co. He's going to have to do 25 of them.
Yeah, I'd have, say, 5 or so up my sleeve, and I'd see Normie running, and, you know, he'd have his 10, but I think, wow, he's doing all right. And then I'd get 10 years up, and I think, okay, 10 years. And he'd be getting up to his 20 or whatever, and yeah, I think, okay, this is something I can just keep doing. I can catch this one day.
And I remember what it was like. I remember crossing the line that last time and just being so elated. Just me, never mind everyone around me who knew I'd done it. Just for me, I was just so satisfied. I went, oh, you've done it, you've stuck to something. You know, this is what you headed out to do and you've achieved it.
One left. Born in Toowoomba, went to school out bush, did an apprenticeship, conscripted into the army by Uncle Harold Holt. He thought I'd be more useful off a surfboard and into the army. He won the argument, and 2 years later I was free again. I started running with the House Ash Harriers. They only ran to make the beer taste better. They were on a worldwide telephone directory. So when I went over to Japan, I ran with the Harriers there. Went to England, ran with them there. And generally I just enjoyed running. Occasionally I run from Forest Acres, where I live, to Pomona, up the mountain, home again. Now that things are more relaxed in life, I can do more of this. And I find that it takes a high standard of staying fit, because that's an enjoyable walk or climb up there, but when you start to put a bit of effort into it, it becomes hard work.
I grew up in a town called Emu Plains, and Emu Plains had this fantastic little athletics club, and that's where it all began. I remember driving from Noosa, and we came sort of out of Ural Forest and down that hill street, and there it was right in front of me. That was it. I just wanted to live near the mountain. The first time I saw the race, I went and I just couldn't believe it. And, you know, I ended up going there, you know, sort of just looking, and at the end I was screaming at the finish line, like not just for the people coming in first, but just for every person, to the very last person. People were cheering, and with my kids it was like their Ekka. So they'd do their little jobs, and all year they'd wait, you know, with their money, and that's where we had our like show day, you know. Was King of the Mountain Day, and my kids would run in the school relay, which they have for the kids.
Mum always tells me earliest memory she would have me on her back and would walk, and my dad and I would climb it as well. And because in my head I think I always had I was going to race it, so I was always consistently climbing it but never racing it. And yeah, and then I guess as I became a teenager, it was a bit harder to get us to climb the mountain, I guess. So Mum would be like, if we were hanging around home, she'd be like, go climb the mountain, go do something. It was the first time I'd been away from home for like an extended period of time, and kind of indefinitely at that point. And you look back like in hindsight, and I was like really reminiscing on like living in Pomona and like being a kid, and like I was writing things I want to do when I get home, kind of. It was like really weird, I guess. And I just said King of the Mountain because it's just been something on my mind forever, and it was like comforting to me to think when I get home I'll work towards doing that, and it'll be nice because I'll be home and in the sunshine.
Even when I was living in town, I never thought about doing the race. I just used to climb the mountain every now and again, and then, you know, relationships break down, you know, people separate, and I started drinking a lot. And I thought this isn't a good way to go, so I entered the race instead and just started going up and down, up and down. You just get complete seclusion from the world out there. And I'm going up the mountain, and there's a guy going up and down it, and he had a blower, like a blower, and he's got a red bit of chalk and a blue bit, and he's literally blowing the mountain like this. He's putting red chalk and blue chalk. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm a competitor. I had a good old chat to him. And then I find out the next year was actually the guy who won Lubinsky.
We had a dog, a bull terrier called Zach,
He didn't exercise himself, so I took him for a run over in the forestry, which is not far from where we live. I did that a couple of times and then realised, hang on, this is my opportunity to train and I can go for a run.
I can remember the first year he ran and he done fairly well, but he was not a very confident person at all. And I said to him that year, I said, geez, you're a young fella. I said, you'll be winning this soon. Just trying to build him up, not realising that that was actually what was going to happen. And once he started winning, you couldn't stop him.
Winning 7 times in a row wasn't on my mind. Getting the record was. I think especially because people said you can't break the record. It's probably the only reason that it really came up, and I thought, that would really surprise people if you could break it.
I could not see anyone coming along that could run under 23 minutes. So it wasn't until Neil came along and the attitude he put into it and the preparation he put into it that I knew that if Neil continued on, he would probably better them.
Yeah, I did it enough times in training, so I knew what it felt like to run that fast. When I got to the base of the mountain, I looked at my watch and I knew I was safe then. The crowd cheering and everything gives you that adrenaline, and that run to the finish lines, you sort of forget the pain in those last few 100 metres. There's people with more talent that have done the race than me, but there's probably no one else that was so dedicated to really target the record and to break the times down and to really train especially for it year after year.
As I said to him the year after he set the record, I said, what, are you going to try and break it again? He said, no, don't have to, I've got it.
It was almost a little bit on a whim that I'd always kind of thought of maybe, I'd heard of the mountain running championships and that maybe I'll do them one year. And just one day I looked up, when are they this year? And it's like, they're next week. Enter the race, buy your tickets, fly down, and fortunately I came second, it went well, and next thing you knew you were heading over to Europe to do the World Champs. Our race was just running to the top of this one mountain. Then you look out over the whole mountain range and you're like, wow, that's cool. I want to do more. I want to go further. I want to see more of this. And I think from there, that's where it really evolved, that I started taking the mountain running side more seriously, that training stopped being so much focused on speed on the track and that to far more just getting lots of elevation, trying out different sorts of terrain. That something like this Pomona race, it's so different to running on the road where you're scrambling and that and coming down. It's such a skill-based sort of thing, and so just really putting in the hours in the mountains and on the technical terrain to develop those skills and that strength.
It's a certain place in my heart, Pomona. It was a really great place to grow up as a kid. Our backyard looks like straight onto it, so like you would be on the back deck and you just see Karura. My childhood here was running through the backyard, going through the creeks, jumping from trees, swinging from vines. Just fantastic. I joined the Navy at 17, and my life when I was in the Navy meant that I didn't really have much control over where I was and what I could do. Quite often I'd look at the event being run and what dates and see if it was feasible for me to come back up here and run. And so every year, I'd say for the past 6 years, I've looked at wanting to do this race because I know that it's something that I want to do, but the opportunity is not there, or it would just the flights coming up from Canberra or wherever I am are too much. So it's always been something I want to do, and finally, I can do it this year, which is quite exciting for me.
I can remember the first time I did it, Mum was terrified. She's like, you're gonna hurt yourself, you're gonna come home with bruises and blood everywhere. And then we were sitting on the corner when Dad came around, just looking normal. Mum realised that it wasn't that bad.
You do the running because you love it. Like, you don't really do the training for the race. At the end of the day, you still run because that's what you enjoy doing.
Going to uni, I sort of stopped running a fair bit. And just in like the last 6 months, I've really started running again. All sorts of stuff, mountains, hills, up in the forestry. Having these two is pretty big push along every morning. You coming?
Nearly every year I used to come to the race day. And I just never thought that I would take it up.
But once I'd done it once, oh, that was it. I was hooked.
Yeah.
I just had this little idea that I was going to start a run club at school and I was going to get kids to run the mountain. We are doing a mountain race, so that's why we're climbing the mountain 2 times today. Let's go. I've had kids coming from all over. I have kids from private schools, homeschooling families come. They just love it, and you know, parents come. I've had a lot of mums and dads say, "Hey Liz, I really would love to, is it okay if I run?" I'm like, yeah, I need people to, adults to help me run. I want the kids that I talk to one day, me being really old, and seeing one of them running, because a lot of them say to me when I grow up, I'm going to run the mountain like you, Miss Saunders. That means the world to me.
I've done a couple of runs with Leslie. Her support is unreal. She is always encouraging me to push myself. She's like, oh, you should definitely try out the actual big race, because you should definitely do it. Yeah, always encouraging.
I train teenagers in the afternoon and take them through gym sessions and try and get them a bit more motivated to be physically active. If they're having a bad day, they might sit on a bike and on their phone, but if they're having a great day, like some of them, they become strong and love the fact that they're now strong when they weren't before. Going up the mountain the first time a couple of weeks back as a training thing was hell.
This one over here, mostly the exercises are geared up for leg to allow for the race. So this is for damaged knee. I don't know whether I told you, but I've been signed up to have my prostate removed. It's there, it's stable, but it might just pop out any time, a bit like the eyes. We don't know when you're going to go blind, but you might go blind. I was all right back in February, March. It's I'm never happy about it at all, I can tell you.
I've always loved climbing mountains, always loved being on mountains. I think it's a really amazing place to be, and it's really good for your head. So I started doing it and then realised that it was actually really close and I could achieve a level of fitness by doing that regularly, and then realised I could go a little bit faster and a little bit faster, and what if I just add a little run to it, and then realised that I'm pretty much running a lot of the course. And then started training for the last years, and then got to a decent level of fitness, and then the corona shut it all down. I was like,
I was pretty gutted by it, thinking, wow, man, 25 years. I thought, I'm done, I'm finished, I'm not going to run it anymore. And after, I suppose, a few weeks, you think, okay, I'll just get my head around this, and there's other people that are hurting in the way of the Olympics or anything that you've been preparing for all your life. And yeah, but I was always a bit hard on myself. I still don't, it doesn't sit right with me because it's not consecutive years. And that's how passionate I am with it. I've missed out in my eyes. I did 24 consecutive races. So with Normie, yeah, he's got this one.
Main race at 2:30 and the race introduction's at 2 p.m. Myself, Barry, yourself and I might get Stuart, Eleanor down there as well. How many others will we need down there? That's probably enough, won't it? 1, 2, 3,
Need a couple
4.
up the street.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Yeah.
We're certainly not out of the woods yet. Anything can happen. But at this stage, with 94 people registered to run the race and only certain restrictions remaining, we're feeling pretty fortunate.
Fear was my biggest thing holding me back for the speed on the downhills. I was trying to really work on that, and I actually camped on the top of Mount Karora in Pomona. And I just had this most peaceful, epic night where I slept so solidly. It was a moonlit night, so I kind of like walking around the mountain at night time, just trying to have a feel for it. And it's just this pure silence and beauty. And I've kind of connected with the mountain. Lo and behold, it worked. I've made a very big improvement, but then I came crashing down on the Tuesday before the race and done my ankle at the bottom of Mount Karora. Just the last jump. I was having some really good flow time down the hill. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to race on the downhills for sure. Good control, I have good speed, making good time, and then right at the bottom drop, I end up getting carried down the hill by this guy called Nathan. Yeah, kind of a heroic guy. I told him I didn't need help, but he's like, looked at my ankle and he's like, you do need help. You need help. So he actually picked me up. He's a big guy. And he actually picked me up and carried me to his car, where then he drove me to my car, and I drove to hospital after that.
Running the 21k at the Guzzler Ultra, got the win and course record of that this morning. Unfortunately, an old sort of injury was sort of niggling a bit. So it means that today I'm just going to be coming along for the experience rather than trying to really race hard and push up the front, but I'm really glad to be here and be part of another King of the Mountain.
This year I thought it'd be really, really good if we had Ben and Boaz pushing the pace up the front end of the field. So now that those two are out, anything's possible for sure. So we could have a complete unknown taking it out.
Oh, well, it's wide open. Wide open. I might have run myself.
Welcome to all the other kids from other schools. Welcome. We're going to have a warm up and be ready to go.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I feel completely relieved that all the Prince and Princess runners are in, and now I'm switching over to ready for my race now.
Hi, first name?
Daryl Morrison.
Daryl.
Yeah.
Sorensen?
Morrison.
Morrison.
Yep.
82.
Lovely.
Good luck.
Probably a lot more people than I thought there'd be. Like, it's been a big day so far and we haven't even raced yet. But
we've done all the prep work, we've just got to do the race now.
Number 51 is Simone Alizzi, a Pomona local, loves running the mountain.
I've got my street that I live in, they've all come down to cheer me on, and my family of course, my two beautiful girls, so doing it for them.
I used to play soccer in Spain as a semi-professional. It's the first time of this race. I feel really comfortable. I have a good feelings today.
I already get Terry talking about, you know, just that she's doing it. I'm just so proud of her. It really, yeah, it's pretty special.
since I've come home, like, we've done lots of mountain climbing together and gone on walks, and we're kind of on the same page with it again.
Being able to push up something so daunting, like you sit at the bottom of it and you look up, and it is a daunting mountain.
As you come around that corner, it's just like, wow. Like it's amazing. And you actually see the track up it and stuff, and it's just like, okay, this is really cool.
Anyone that's been up there will know there's no soft places up there. Everything wants to bite you.
Number 37, Riley O'Brien.
Come out here, you run up and down that mountain, and you're just too tired to really care about anything, I suppose.
To come back and do this event specifically has always just been a return to home.
It's just the freedom of running, to feel the buzz of the wind and the sun. It's something you've got and somebody else hasn't. It's just there.
All right, runners, this is the final runners briefing at the start line. During the registration process, each runner has agreed to the race rules and regulations. All instructions from the officials must be obeyed at all times. All safety precautions are to be taken by each runner so as not to cause injury to oneself, other runners or support personnel.
Runners, take your mark.
Okay, so it's Callum versus Jorge at the moment.
Runner coming down.
Runner down, make to your right, on your right. Going up, you need to be on your right.
That's all right.
Move to your right.
Yeah, I took you around the coke off you.
Absolutely beautiful. It's Jorge. Yes, he's done it. Jorge is first on the corner. He's taken around the top line.
Number 42,
Jorge Hernandez Navarro. He's our king of the mountain.
He's a local
The amount of people up and down the streets is just, and the cheering when you come up out of that bottom corner, you know, it's a unique race, it is, it's just it's something special for it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, they were fine. Hey, get in. Back next year.
The crowd were awesome, so good event, really cool. And next year we'll be back.
This one right here. So I'm quite happy to have done it, and yeah, like honestly couldn't have asked for a better day. This weather is good, feeling excited. Like I'm really happy right now.
I covered about 20 foot before I stopped. I caught up with the lady in front and she passed me again. And then up around the bend a bit further, I tripped and cartwheeled and picked up my glasses and kept going.
A bit more running to do yet. My goal is to do 30 years. Give my lad something to chase, because if anyone's going to break it, he should.
A lot of runners, you know, will run fast and run hard, break records and whatever. But to do mountain running, it's a really tough, put your body on the line type of sport. And for me, King of the Mountain It's not just one of those things where you can just tick a box and go, I've done it. It's something that draws you back.
It's just, you feel actually a little bit small, like being at sea or in the desert. It is such a physical, big thing, and being part of it and getting to the top is something really quite magical. And the best strategy of a race, if you find it tough, is you say, in a quarter of an hour, in half an hour, it's over.
Well, I've heard people say, oh, it's this and it's half an hour of hard work, you know, and if you can't do that, you might as well pack up anyhow. Started from nothing by a group of people that basically knew nothing about what we were doing, built it up into what it is, and I've taken a great deal of pride in the race over the years, and it's very important to keep it going.
For a lot of people, running is your time in that moment, and wherever you need it, you know, and we all need running for some reason. We're all trying to achieve some goal, whether it be, you know, to get stronger in yourself, to calm your mind, or to aim for a competition if you want. But I think that whole journey of your own running, especially for that event, because it is an extreme event. I see people at the finish line who are lying on the ground and who are sometimes tearful, and I did it, you know, whatever that reason, that journey it was for King of the Mountain. I think that can be more important.